welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about token Black characters in fantasy and science fiction, and of course, this can apply more broadly to other token minority characters. I often hear that many people prefer young adult over adult fiction because young adult tends to be more inclusive, whereas adult fiction, for the most part, tends to be more of a white man's world. I'm trying to do my best to help change that. And when it comes to say fantasy specifically, I think George R.R. Martin offers a pretty decent explanation for the lack of diversity.
And I'm wondering, why, in your opinion, is fantasy so monocultural, and what could be done to change that?
Well, I think there's a relatively simple answer. It's so monocultural because it's mostly been written by white men, and I'm a 66-year-old white man. Tolkien was I don't know what age he was, but he was born in the 19th century in England, and he was an Oxford Don. He lived in small English towns his entire life, and we look back on our own history and the cultures and the things we were taught, raised up on legends of Robin Hood and King Arthur, and Tolkien was an expert on Beowulf and all that, and that's true of many of the Tolkien imitators. Even the people writing it today are all drawn from the same cultural pool. So that's largely why it is what it's been up to the present. However, I do see evidence that that's changing. If you look at the World Science Fiction Award, the Hugo, which is given every year, and the John W. Campbell Award, which is an award for the best new writer, that's given every year at the World SF Convention. More and more of them have been writers of very different ethnic backgrounds, more and more women, women of color, women from other countries of Indian descent, of black writers like N.K. Jemisin and Nndi Okorafor, Asian writers like Ken Liu. These guys have won the Campbell Award, and they're coming out with books of their own, and they're drawing from different cultural traditions, from their own traditions, be they Japanese or African or Chinese, whatever. Not historical novels, mind you, but fantasy novels, but drawn from that tradition. And some of them are doing very fine work. Now, the question, the impact that they have on the field is largely going to be determined by you guys. I mean, if these books sell, publishers will publish more of them. They'll be made into movies. They'll be made into television shows. And if those are successful, there will be more movies and more television shows. Hollywood in particular is very imitative. If they don't succeed, though, and the books by, the old white guys continue to succeed, then you'll get more books by old white guys. I actually like to think of myself as an old white guy who's really 16 inside, but, there's that.
I think it's a bit creepy that he says he feels like he's 16, but that's neither here nor there. So he mentions ethnic writers writing their own stories, which is great, and we definitely need more of that. But right now, for the most part, it is white male writers who are at the forefront of most of the platforms, so it would definitely be beneficial if they started including a more diverse cast. Unfortunately, that's where the token comes in. In many cases, there are either no black characters, or there is that one black character who was created for the sole purpose of fulfilling some sort of bogus diversity checklist. And again, this can apply to any minority group. So, what is a token? A token is a supporting or a minor character who was included almost exclusively for reasons pertaining to diversity. And that's not inherently bad, but there's typically one of them, and they're often not very fleshed out. And when you have a massive cast of characters, or like at least a sizable cast of characters, it becomes problematic because then that one character becomes symbolic of the entire group that they represent. This goes for the token Black character, the token Black couple, the token Black siblings, etc. Normally, one rule for avoiding tokenism is that when you write these characters, they are not solely focused on race or racial stereotypes. It's like when you're writing the character who is fat. Like, fat people have their own lives and dreams and thoughts and aspirations. If you write a character like that who is solely focused on their weight, it falls flat and boring and unbelievable, and it's really annoying. So regarding writing your Black characters, if you are writing, say, urban fantasy or science fiction or something like that, and where your world is very much like our own, then yes, that's definitely something you need to be taking into account. However, if you are writing fantasy in which the world is completely your own, you literally make everything up. So say the socio-political, racial dynamics that apply to this world don't necessarily need to apply to your world. So then, why would it be so difficult to imagine that in your fantasy world, you'd say your character is traveling the world, or at least a sizable amount of the world? Why would it be hard to imagine that they might run into Black or brown people? Patrick Rothfuss. I'm sorry, I had to. If you are writing urban fantasy or science fiction, then I can sort of understand your hesitation, but all it takes is 1, research, and 2, seeing Black people as people, human beings, actual people with thoughts and dreams and feelings and personalities. If you can research how much antimatter it would take for a spaceship to travel almost the speed of light, then you can take the time to do enough research so that you don't create Black characters that will give you a massive amount of backlash. Recently joined this channel, then I have a world building series in which in one video I talk about creating people and culture. And if you are worried about how to describe various people of color, I have a video for that too. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm afraid to create Black characters, or I don't know how to write Black people, is not a viable excuse. I'm just sick of the evil, bald Black guy. The Black guy with the stupid haircut. The Black woman who falls for her oppressor I don't know who's asking for that, but please, no more black women falling for Nazis or slave owners. No more black characters sacrificing themselves so that the white protagonist can continue in the plot. So, that said, I do have some exciting news. Thanks to a jump in Patreon funds, I will now be able to buy a tripod for my phone sooner than I thought. And after that, I will buy a boom mic for when I'm out and about, the next time I decide to vlog out in public. So that's exciting. So that's all I have to say. Liking and subscribing help me out very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!